Okay, I think I just need to figure out how do I get this view on YouTube. Here we go.
Yeah, and then you could copy the link.
Yeah.
Send it in Discord. If you have Discord on your laptop.
Discord.
Yeah, and then you could copy the link.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a Discord on my Mac. I don't know if that's a thing.
That's all right. You could copy the link.
Let me just text it to myself.
Yep. Yeah, you text it, email.
I'll on my phone here. Okay.
Does anybody in the league know about this show today? Or is this going to come as a shock?
A couple of them do.
Okay.
Let's see.
Kevin, what'd you do for Thanksgiving? Were you in Illinois for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I was at home in Illinois. Went to my grandparents' house.
That's awesome. All right. Did Allison go too, or just you?
Yeah, we both went. So we went up on Wednesday. Took a half day off of work. Went up Wednesday, and then we just stayed until yesterday. So saw some of my friends from high school, some of my groomsmen, some of my mom, my grandparents, my sister, just all that. So, what about you?
Very good, very good. Yeah, stayed at home for the most part. Did a Cracker Barrel with my dad and brother.
Nice. I haven't been there in years.
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Probably not too many places open on Thanksgiving, but yeah, they got some good stuff at Cracker Barrel.
What'd you order? Like a nice little ham, like honey baked ham?
No, my dad and brother did. They got the turkey meal.
Nice.
That they were advertising. I got the smokehouse combo with bacon, eggs, and biscuit and gravy. There's no turkey or ham involved in.
Okay, there you go.
Meal. Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna wait a couple more minutes if anyone else jumps in, and then I'll dive into it.
Oh, did you send the?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it'll auto save to YouTube, correct? I don't have to download this and upload it.
That's how it's always worked for Stage 10. Yeah, should be good to go.
Okay. Because I didn't see anything like in the settings or anything, so I think we're all good to go.
Do you have do you have the YouTube portion up, or do you want me to do it too in case there's any comments?
I think it notifies me on here.
Oh, okay.
So. Well, cool, man. Well, let's just jump right into it. I appreciate those who are watching live right now and who will be who'll be watching after this thing's uploaded. Scott is in the Dynasty Champions was very, very nice to join my franchise in this live video, get him out of retirement here to kind of address some things that were said about my franchise and also his franchise on the last few podcasts here. Before I kind of dive into things, Scott, anything that you want to kick off with?
Yeah, Kevin, appreciate you having me on this show. It's always nice doing these podcasts. I know if you're trying to jumpstart your own channel, if this is something you plan to do moving forward, having me as a guest is a great way to get ratings up high
to get the
quickly.
Views. Yep.
Because if you can look at whatever numbers you want, my show is the highest rated in history. It has the most views.
And I think the most unique impressions as well, and tweets about it and everything. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. So I'm on board with your show though. I think you could easily take over if you decide to continue to do this moving forward as the #1 show. You have my vote, my backing. Not a lot of competition out there, but I think I have faith in this show.
Well, I appreciate it, my man. I know we'll see where this goes. I don't plan on being a guest host or a a podcaster on a weekly basis here. So we'll see. If kind of what I had in mind was, we had to get to the bottom of some things here. So I think if more things come to light, this might be more of a frequent appearance, but we'll see. We'll just see where things go with this league. So
I think it's a great idea to randomly do a show to clear the air, to get your thoughts out, like to respond to some idiotic comments that a previous show had for you, or anything. Your thoughts on your matchup or your upcoming matchup. I'd encourage anybody in the league to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So we're currently rocking 4 viewers right now. So I'll just I'll address the elephant in the room here. I was involved in a lot of discussion and chatter this week. Shinwoo and the Mun Dynasty and the Discount Belichicks were involved in a tanking match. So just to kind of jump into things, right? I think it's no surprise, what my game plan's been this past season. Definitely didn't have the best, expansion draft. I would have done so many different things differently. I would have gone more QB heavy. My draft strategy going into it was really to take the best player available. And started with Cooper Kupp, who was a top 10 wide receiver, and just whoever was the most available at the best time of that pick. That's who I went with. So obviously after my draft, didn't really have many QBs. So my thought process is in this entire year, in this offseason, was let's try to reset the clock. Let's trade away my top players. Let's acquire first round picks, second round picks. And let's try to reset the clock here and be, a bottom 12 to 8, team in the league. Acquire number 1 or first round picks, second round draft picks, and then just reset the clock. I don't really think my team's good enough to compete against Rybread, Mr. Beasts. I don't think I can beat Johnny, or I don't think I could beat Paul's team, and maybe yourself if you squeak into the playoffs. So my thought process behind it, right, is let's try to not be competitive the next 2 years. This year I have 2 first round picks. I have 2 second round picks. Next year I have 2 first round picks. So I think the addition of potentially 4 to 5 first rounders in the next 2 years, is really going to reset the clock for me and get me back on the competitiveness stage. So that's kind of my thought process going into it, which leads me to where I'm at now. I've traded away some of my top tier talents. I thought Sony Michel was a stud this off season in the role he'd be used in. Absolutely didn't work out. Happy I got a good pick out of it. Traded away Cooper Kupp, traded away David Johnson, I'm trying to trade away Adam Thielen. I've tried Melvin Gordon until he got his DUI. So I've really, my floodgates are open. So it's, with where I'm at right now, I want to be able to reset the clock and bring in a new QB. So for me, any win that I get, it's not going to help me out. I'm at this point, I'll probably draft 1, 2, or 3. But my thought process going into last week was, hey, let's try to take this run here at this generational QB. Instead of me being the number 2 draft slot, let's try to slide up to number 1, pass Shinwoo. So that's been my game plan, really. How can I best, suit myself for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, etc. And I think I do that by getting the number 1 pick and getting Trevor Lawrence. One of the best QB recruits of almost all time, really, is what I've been reading. So having said that, I woke up, last Sunday, and I was a little rattled. I wasn't expecting to go full tank mode. I was going to, very, very kind of like Shinwoo was doing, play 2, 3 good players and then play very, very small marginal average players. But I woke up to this guy. He has Marcus Mariota in his starting lineup, who hasn't played a game all year. I didn't even know that was even – I thought, Shinwoo had a fine coming to him if he played him. I also woke up and was setting my lineup, and I found out that Shinwoo was over his roster size. So that really rattled me, and and that person that Shinwoo had in his roster who was exceeding his bench limit was in his starting lineup. So as easily triggered as I am, I decided to make some adjustments to my lineup and bring my potential scoring down from 75 or 80 down to 65 or 50. I called one of the league members in the league and I said, hey, would it be allowed if I did this? That specific person says, as long as they are dressed and active, you will not be fined. That's allowed. And that's kind of why I assumed, Marcus Mariota was in the starting lineup. So that was kind of my mindset, seeing what was going on there. I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. I'm going to, if he's going to tank like this, I'm going to tank like this too. So Shinwoo might be thinking that it was myself who sparked it, but I kind of think it was him who sparked it by playing somebody who hasn't played at all this year. And then also having he was above his bench limit and was playing that person as well. So that was kind of my mindset going into it. Shinwoo says it was fun for him. It was for me a little bit too. I actually lost I lost Tariq Cohen in the process of tanking a little bit. So, I saw Johnny picked him up and I didn't want to, drop him, but, that was my best case scenario to get more people on my team who, would better position myself.
Let me ask you this, kind of going back a few minutes ago, at what point in this season did you realize this was going to be an unsuccessful one for you? Like, did you know before the season even started that you weren't going to be a contender, or was this midway through the season? Right after the
no, I thought I had a pretty decent expansion draft. Going into it, I thought that there was a lot more QBs available in the free agent list than. But I really didn't realize that all the QBs who were starting QBs were like on active rosters currently. And my thought process was, if I took the best player available in my expansion draft, I can then flip them for a QB, flip them for any position that I really need to. And little did I know that, if I wanted a starting QB, like a middle of the pack QB, like Jared Goff, I have to give up Cooper Kupp, a first round pick. And I didn't think that would be the case going into it. So I'd say after the expansion draft, going into the free agency bid war, I wasn't really prepared, knowing that a strategy for the free agency draft is, drop your players who have a higher cap, who aren't really going to be a starting role, and then try to bid for better players in the free agency draft. If I had $50, $40 more of cap room, I could have made a push towards either maybe Keenan Allen. I could have maybe got the running back in Jacksonville, who I was pretty high on, and I think he's only $15 of cap space. So I really just wasn't too prepared, knowing like how the setup was in the free agency draft. So, so I guess after those two, that's when I kind of realized, like, hey, I'm not really that competitive right now. And I thought that my team was deep enough where I didn't need another QB. I thought if Nick Foles was a starter, I would be fine to have, Robert Woods as my super flex. He has a decent floor. He's one of Goff's favorite targets. So I thought, if he's back to true form, wide receiver one type potential, and Cooper Kupp did what Cooper Kupp did the year before, I thought I would have been good and, a playoff bubble team. And it showed. I mean, my first 5 games, I was 2-3. So I just realized then, hey, I could, best case scenario is I win a few more games, but I'm going to be the number 8, 9 seed. Let's just blow this thing up and reset the clock for 2 more years and acquire a generational QB and maybe a generational, wide receiver or running back as well.
Let me ask you this though. What happens if Trevor Lawrence doesn't come out? Because there's about a month or so ago, there was some talk that he may stay in Clemson. How much would that put a dent in your plans? Would you try to trade back, or are you pretty set on another guy at number 1 if Lawrence didn't come out?
Yeah, if he's not there and he's not, and I don't see why he would join, I don't see why he wouldn't join the NFL draft and declare for it. And that's just a year of his career wasted in the NFL. Then I look at the best running or the best QB available at that spot. I think myself, Shinwoo, and Brendan, we all want a QB, and so you look at the QB class. You've got Lawrence, Fields, and Trey Lance is probably the 1, 2, 3 of the QBs. So I would take one of them. So I don't know how much of a margin it's going to be. Say Lawrence goes to the Jets, right? You don't know if he's going to have a better career than if he's there long term compared to say somebody who goes to Jacksonville or maybe the Patriots. I mean, you really have no idea. It really just depends on what team they're drafted to.
Yeah, understood. I hope for your sake, it seems like you're going to get the number 1 overall pick. I'd be shocked if you didn't. But yeah, it'd be cool to see discount Belichick's with Trevor Lawrence. That'd be huge for your future.
Yeah.
But let me try to play devil's advocate to go against you and what you're talking about with Shinwoo and the Tank Bowl, because maybe from Shinwoo's perspective, he was thinking a few things. He was aware from your time on the hot seat that you had stated Shinwoo was your least favorite member of the league. He knows that you were excited for Shinwoo's first and surprising win against Austin, so that kind of worried him. And playing you, that like he needs to lose, to get that number 1 overall pick. Shinwoo had it in his mind that he was for sure going to be number 1. So when you say you woke up Sunday morning and were surprised to see Shinwoo make the decisions he did, you have to. I would think you have to admit that if Shinwoo kept his lineup competent and left his good players in there, but if you noticed that they weren't performing well and you were going to win based on the noon games, you probably would have made some decisions for the 3:00 games, Sunday night game, to put in some worse players just to try to lose. Because you have to think that you would have done the same thing. It was just a matter of like who was going to go first and showing their lineup, trying to hit rock bottom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Shinwoo knew that. I don't think he watched that podcast and he knew that, we had beef prior to that because, him not trading. I mean, I would probably play as a case by case scenario. I mean, if, 6:00 rolls around and I'm, up 20 points. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I definitely, it's tougher to analyze your team like that because, if hypothetically speaking, say I have Gus Edwards left to play at 7 p.m., like I don't see myself wanting to drop a player like him to bring in somebody less. And if I had a bench spot, maybe I'd consider it. But I mean, you can play the what if scenario all day. If I knew going into this matchup, if Shinwoo had not won a match at this point, I would have set my full lineup and I would have went for the win against Shinwoo. My goal was to see somebody go 0-13. And with the amount of luck that he had, like going against him, I thought he should have beaten Paul and he had a few other close matchups, but I cared more about seeing him go 0-13 than I did to get myself the first overall pick. So if he was winless going into my win, or our matchup, I would have full matchup or my full lineup was going out there. And kind of right now this week too, I think my team can, potentially knock Johnny out of the playoffs. So you can see right now my full matchup lineups going right now. If I beat Johnny, I'd get more satisfaction out of that than I do getting the first overall pick.
Oh, so you have some beef with Johnny? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't have any beef with him. No. I just, when you look at the preseason rankings, he was number 1. And now he's a fringe playoff team. He's a potential 6th seed. So, if he's in, either you're out or AB's out. So I think it'd be awesome to try to take him out.
Kevin, real quick, you should give your predicted playoff standings after week 13? We're 2 weeks away. What's going to be 1 through 6?
It depends on the schedule. I know Ryan plays Shinwoo week 13. I would say I would go the 1-2 spot as I'd probably go Ryan and Paul, or not Paul, Ryan and Leo 1-2. I think Paul will go 3. I think Chris will go 4. I think Johnny 5 and you 6. I think AB is gonna be out of the playoffs.
I like to hear it. I agree with those rankings.
Yeah, I mean, look at Ryan and Paul play each other this week, right? So I think they're tied right now in the standings. I think they both have 2 losses, maybe 3 losses.
Ryan's 1 up.
Yeah, Ryan's 1 up. So I like Ryan this week against Paul. So and Leo has 2 losses as well. So if Ryan beats Paul, that puts him 2 games up, and Ryan's gonna win against Shinwoo. So you don't really care about the 1-2. It's gonna go. I think it's gonna go Ryan or Leo. Number 3, Paul. 4. What did I say? 4. Chris. 5, Johnny, and 6, you.
Cool. I can dig it. In that scenario, I would play my dad.
Yeah, you want to have a horn-hung matchup.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, cool. Moving right along. Yeah, like I said, I would if Shinwoo was 0-11 at the point when we matched, or 0-10, I would have my full lineup was going to go out there and try to get that win. Then we could have had some nice merch made of 0-13. I would have had a crew neck. I would have had a tank. I would have had a future. I would have had a hoodie. I would have had it all, a hat. We would have sold out of that merchandise pretty quick.
Oh yeah, I would have bought.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anything else in this topic you want to cover?
Yeah. I know you mentioned you have two first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, but how competitive do you think you'll be next year, or how competitive do you want to be next season? Like, what are your expectations?
I think with just if you get 2 good first overall, or 2 good first rounders, maybe 1 or 2 good second rounders, I mean, you could really inject like your lineup and be in a good spot. I mean, you look at the first rounders this year. Let's just say I had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, for example, right? That's a starting running back in your lineup. I think you had a second rounder that was Higgins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So say you have him in your lineup, or I think Justin Jackson or Justin Jefferson from Minnesota?
Yep.
Let me just look at the rookie draft. So I mean, these are obviously hitting these players right away, and the hit rate of being a starter and being a stud in the league is probably fairly low. But you look at, let's say Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe Herbert, maybe Tua in the first round. I mean, you get 1 or 2 of those. I mean, that's starters right away. Second rounder, you have either maybe Higgins, Ayuk, Claypool. I mean, you've got a lot of. I mean, Gibson. I mean, if you hit 1 or 2 of those, I mean, that's, or just even 1. If you hit 1 in the first, 1 in the second, I mean, that's, again, that infuses your lineup pretty quickly. And I just think that 1 or 2 good rounds of a rookie draft, if you hit somebody who's starting, like you're in great shape right away.
For sure. Do you think you could be in the playoffs? Like, would you be upset if you missed the playoffs next season?
I don't feel good about my team next year to be a playoff team that can do damage. I would say 2 solid years of drafting would get me in the playoffs, and I could win a round or 2 after that. So I think when I look at my team right now, let's say you hold on to J.K. Dobbins, clearly, you've seen the tape. He's a great running back right now. He's the future. When Ingram's gone, he's the future of that team. I have Henry Ruggs. He's shown flashes of brilliance. Hamler's looking pretty good. Say next year I bring in Lawrence and I bring in, a solid running back as well to complement them. And then in addition to that, then I say I held on to Thielen, I held on to Devontae Parker. There's still, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. They keep that trend for 3 years. Just one more year of good drafting would put me in the lineup.
I might push back on you a little bit here, Kevin. So I'm not saying it's impossible. It's certainly not impossible, and probably more likely that your draft picks from this past year work out. However, it's probably fair to say your draft picks have not performed as well as maybe people thought, or maybe as well as they should. Just you saying Dobbins, Hamler, Ruggs, all in your lineup, starting lineup next season, like that is not very scary to me right now. It could be. It very well could be.
Yeah, I don't view them as starters for next year. I mean, they're rookies, right? They're all rookies this year. But would you agree if, say, my starting lineup was this year was, let's say I had Burrow and let's say I had
let's say DeAndre Swift. What pick do you have? It's yours and my dad's.
Last year, I believe. Okay, so I have mine and I have your dad's, which could be 12, could be 11, could be 10, it could be, etc. So let's just talk about this year, right? So say this year, say my draft pieces were moved around a little bit. Say I drafted Burrow. Mm-hmm. Say I accepted your trade for Higgins, and say I had Antonio Gibson. So that's a QB, a running back, a wide receiver. So say my starting lineup at that point is, let's say it was Burrow, and let's just say Fitzpatrick or Nick Foles, right? Guaranteed 2 starters there for part of the year. And then my wide receivers then are Thielen, Cooper Kupp. My running backs at that point would have been Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Antonio Gibson. My flexes would have been maybe David Johnson, Higgins, and Devontae Parker. I mean, I view that as a playoff team right there.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah, that I would agree with that.
So it's really just, if you have a hit on some of these rookies coming in, and again, it really depends on their role that they're playing, right? So I knew Dobbins wasn't going to be an immediate fit, but he's got all the talent in the world. And I see him. I mean, he's a big piece of their future, I feel like. Hamler has Denver has a bunch of receivers right now, so that's a little bit more cloudy. I think Ruggs is the future, though, for wide receivers over there on the Raiders team. I mean, he's speedy, he's quick, he's got good hands. Like he's fairly impressive, in my opinion.
Hey, well, thank goodness KJ Hamler has one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
That's right. Yeah,
right.
Mizzou made, baby.
Yeah. Sometimes he just has to remember to throw the ball to the players on his team.
That's right.
Just the one minor detail there.
And not get hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you have on this topic?
Well, you talk about the draft. So it sounds like you really want to build through the draft, but what about some trades? Or you plan to make any trades to improve your team this offseason?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I have a good opportunity to claim 2 or 3 of your players, from free agency, because you're in a bad cap spot. Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Just whatever the value is out there, I'll accept a trade if I think it complements my team. I'm not willing to trade like a Thielen for like a 2024 pick. That's not going to do anything for me. Yeah, I mean, I want to play to win. I want to be competitive. I want to be a playoff team. But I just look at teams that have the number 1 and 2 QB in fantasy, Mahomes and Watson, or not Watson, Mahomes and Russell. Look at Ryan's team. My team is not a lineup to compete with these teams right now.
I'm taking a little offense to you constantly mentioning Ryan and Johnny and the Beast, but what a shame it would be for the best team in the league to not make the playoffs. So it's okay. It's okay, Kevin.
Yeah, if you had your lineup right now at the start of the season, you're a different team. You're probably knocking on the door for the top 3 seed. Well, you would agree with that, I'm sure. So I don't know.
Let me try to kind of ask you a question and kind of respond to Brendan at the same time in our YouTube chat. So, many people in the league seem to think that I'll have some cap issues after this season, and I'll have to drop players. I'm not going to be dropping any big players. However, there will be everybody. There is not one player that I'm saying is off limits. Not one. So if you're looking for some superstars for your team next year, cool. If you're looking for players that could be superstars, like someone like Hunter Renfrow, he's available. Everybody's available.
Mm-hmm.
That includes Rodgers and Matt Ryan. So I just want to give you a heads up, if you're wanting to get drastically better, or even some cheaper young guys that maybe could fit in, play some roles on your team, then let me know. And that goes for everyone in the league. Brendan, I don't know the price for Dalvin Cook right now. We'll wait till after the season for that, but he's definitely on the block. Like if you want Dalvin Cook,
everybody's on the block for you because you don't have a first-round pick in the next 10 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you've got to reset the clock a little bit.
Yeah, I can. I also don't have to, though. If I can go into next season and have a superstar lineup, I don't have to trade.
You could, yeah. Your issue you're going to be facing is, a lot of your players are going to be going up in cap space, right? Like Drake, Cook, Lockett, Amari Cooper, James Conner, right? Drew Lock, Crowder, so you're going to be, you have to make some trades or make some moves. So, I think for you, you're going to be looking at offloading some pieces to get some cheaper players or some draft picks while holding on to your main starters.
So what about for you? Do any of those people catch your interest? Maybe do some live trade talks.
Yeah.
You mentioned Edelman. Are you still interested?
It depends on how my draft goes. I don't know. Okay. I draft and see who's there. I don't want to trade for some running backs, and then I draft some running backs or wide receivers, etc. So we'll see. Well, moving right along, my man. I wanted to bring this up to the league as well. This is kind of after gathering some data, I wanted to bring this up in regards to another league member. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
Let's see. Share screen. All right. You got me?
Yes. I like it.
Cool. So, yeah, after being called out and being a victim of much slander this past week on the Heroes Hot Seat, I did a little bit of digging myself, Scott, and I wanted to bring this up to you here while we have a platform to do so. I got called out quite a bit for the tank. Shinwoo got called out quite a bit for the tank. I have a hypothesis that Brendan is actually tanking, and he created his podcast or his live show to deflect the attention off of him for tanking. He's been tanking, but he hasn't been involved in a big tank yet where it's actively extremely noticeable yet. So hear me out, right? So you look at Brendan's schedule. Let's see. So you look at week 8, week 9, right? So Brendan just got lit up by Leo in week 9. We knew that was going to happen. Brennan did not have a team to compete against Leo. You go to week 8, right? This is when Brennan really lost. This is a matchup he should have won. You look at what his team did, right? He put up 0 from Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay got hurt. You look at what he had. Let me see his bench here.
Do you know how upsetting that is to look at this match right here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is a different defense. You brought this up as well. So the Saints defense versus the Colts defense. If you played CeeDee Lamb instead of, his other wide receiver, there's a lot of different what if scenarios, which we can do all day. But, the moral of the story here, he lost a really close matchup, 111 to 103. The week before, he lost an even closer matchup. He lost by about a point to Leo. So 162 to 161, right? I think I might have misspoke during week 9. I don't think he played Leo again, he did. Okay. So I think looking at his schedule, week 7, week 8, the close matchups that he lost, we knew he wasn't going to do a whole lot in week 9 against the Beast. I mean, it's definitely possible, but I think in a 5-game series, a 7-game series, Leo's going to win that matchup every day of the week. But what really gets concerning is I think his mindset kind of fell off the face of the map during week 10. So I was gathering some of this. Let me close out of this tab here. During week 10, he played you, right? So would you, reflecting on your matchup here with him, would you say he set his best lineup against you?
Yeah, Dynasty champions, we always respect our opponents, no matter how good or bad they appear on paper. Could he have not started Callaway, Edwards, Troutman, Hasty? Yeah, he probably could have started better players than them. But you know what? Callaway and Edwards, looks like they had some juicy matchups. And Michael Thomas may have been on
them, right? So he started Bryan Edwards in week 9. This is currently, what is this, week 10? Yep. So week 9, he started Edwards. Let's look at Edwards here, right? So he, at the point of week 9, he's only been dressed 3 times year to date. So he didn't play 4, 5, 6 as a bye, 7, 8. So he started him in week 9. He gets him 0 points. He decides to then play somebody who gave him 0 points the week before against you in his matchup. Callaway, right? You look at Callaway. He put up 0 against him or against you in that matchup. Callaway, you just got to think, what is he doing having this guy in his lineup? He had one good game against Carolina. But the week before he puts up 3 points. Like, you got to just wonder, like, what's the mindset going into this matchup, playing, starting Edwards, starting Callaway, when you have Antonio Brown on your bench, you have Jarvis Landry on your bench, you have McKinnon who can play a role, you have Godwin on your bench. So he's benching these starting players and these wide receiver 1s, wide receiver 2s, and I think this is something that really kind of flew under the radar a little bit. And he kind of addressed it a little bit in his podcast. He said that he knows what it's like to tank. He's been playing a starting lineup that's respectable, but not disrespectful to where it's like a clear tank. But I'll kind of get that. I'll get to that here during the current matchup. But when you look at week 11 here, against the Krispy Kremes. You look at what his lineup was again. He's starting Edwards. This is now his 3rd straight start in a row for Edwards. Week 9, he put up 0 points. Week 10, he put up 2.6. So now he's starting him again. You got to wonder, what is he doing starting him? He plays Callaway again. Week 9, Callaway had 3 points. Week 10, Callaway had 0. Week 11, he puts up 0 again. So clearly, you got to look at, this league owner, he's calling out myself, and for a tank, he's calling out Shinwoo for a tank. He criticizes the hypocrisy of a first-year team doing it, but you're looking at his lineup here. He starts the backup for the Saints. When you have the third stringer, you have no idea how he's going to perform. I would say Brendan was pleasantly surprised to see Hill put up 24 points, but you look at his lineup and his bench again, though, like he's benching Tom Brady. He benched Antonio Brown. He benched Tyler Boyd, who's year-to-date's been a pretty solid option for him. He benched CeeDee Lamb. He benched Chanel, which he's pretty high on. Like this is clearly a lineup that's not things that to try to win a game. Which leads me to my last hypothesis here is, which I brought up here not too long ago here. He says he wants to set a lineup that's respectable but not a clear tanking lineup. Well, look at his lineup right now. He's got Hill. He's got Wilkins, which is, respectable given the current running back situation with Taylor being out. But you've got Guyton, like I don't even know who Guyton is. You've got he's starting 2 tight ends. Again, he's got Brian Edwards in his lineup again. He's got Callaway in his lineup again. His projected point total right now is 67. He's benching Tom Brady. He's benching Antonio Brown. He's benching Jarvis Landry. He's benching McKinnon. He's benching Boyd. He's benching Godwin. He's benching Lamb. Like, he is benching all of his top players. So this guy is in clearly a tank mode. And he knows what he's doing here, Scott. So when you look at the standings here, Brendan is looking for a QB. It's no secret. He only has really he doesn't have the best QB situations this year. Tom Brady will be retired here in 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, 4 years. You have no idea. All he has going for him is Dak Prescott, which, again, who knows where he's going to be coming back from him for his season-ending injury. So Brendan needs a quarterback. So Brendan's mindset, and I give him, a lot of praise for going under the radar for this. He is benching his lineup to get less points than Shinwoo, because Brendan would then have less points scored compared to Shinwoo. If Shinwoo puts up 20 more points than Brendan this week, then Brendan will take over that potential number 2 overall spot over Shinwoo. And that gives him either a more favorable quarterback position, or that gives him a more favorable option to trade down in the draft 1 or 2 spots if he doesn't want to take the number 2 QB, which could potentially be Justin Fields. I know he's pretty high on Trey Lance. So when you look at what's going on right now, he has not. I wanted to bring this to light for one of the other owners in the league of him. Just the situation he's putting himself in right now.
I think you're onto something, Kevin. So kind of what I'm getting from this is, Brendan hosts this podcast that he thinks is good. And he's putting another league member on the hot seat, just peppering them with questions, trying to make them uncomfortable. But no one's doing this to Brendan.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan being the host, and I'll take responsibility for this being on his show. Maybe I should have fired back. Maybe sometimes the best defense is a good offense. Maybe I should have just turned it around and gave some guest pepper questions to Brendan. Make him respond to what he's doing. So yeah, Kevin, I think you're onto something here. I think Brendan knows an explanation. Kind of out there criticizing people week in and week out. Always challenging his guests, but we're not hearing anything from Brendan himself.
Yep. We're not. He kind of addressed it this week on the podcast with Shinwoo about how he knows what it's like to tank, but to respect the opponent, respect the league. At least in my defense, I have traded away my top players to reset my team, to rebuild through the draft. For him, you don't know what, he's not trading his top pieces. He's just straight benching everybody, all of his starters, to get that favorable matchup. I don't know what to say about this. I don't know if Shinwoo is aware about it. I'm sure Shinwoo would not be happy if once Shinwoo listens to this show and sees his this other guy is trying to snag that number 2 spot. But I think we are onto something, Scott. We'll see. We'll see what his response is to this, but he's on the hot seat now for sure. He, again, like I said, I think he created this platform 5 weeks ago, and that's right about, give or take a week or two. That's about the same time when he started tanking and setting a weakened lineup.
Maybe he should cancel next week's show with Alex and just pepper himself with questions. He could be the host and the guest all in one. But Kevin, what is your opinion on tanking moving forward? It's been a big topic of discussion in the Discord. Are you in favor of more punishment financially or non-financially? Are you fine with where it's at?
Yeah, I don't think tanking should really be there. But at the end of the day, we're in a dynasty league, and you look at, there's a lot of rosters that have 5 or 6 or 7 starting QBs, which creates a lot of the lack of parity in a league. The only way that, myself or maybe the Creams could have gotten a more favorable spot is should I have known if this was a QB reliance league with it being a super flex. In a lot of the podcasts and shows, it's very, very well known that it's taken every league member several years to determine or to figure out this is a QB league. So for me, with me being a dynasty owner, this is a dynasty, right? I am looking at the next 5 years and looking at the next 10 years. If that means sacrifice 2 years, I mean, so be it. I want to put myself in a spot in 3 years, 4 years, 2 years to be in a playoff position, to do so. I don't know. I'm all for removing the tank system. I would be more favorable and vote more towards standings and draft order based off of other ways to determine it. I don't really know how we would go about it. I don't think that a 10 or the third place team, the second place team, the first place team should have a spot in the lottery draft to get that first overall pick. I think I don't know. The draft position is determined off of total point score of an entire roster, bench included, because that shows the depth of a team. Because otherwise you could just go off, just the starting lineup that will have somebody wanting to play a weaker lineup to do so. If somebody has not only a bad starting lineup, but also a bad bench, then, that clearly shows that team is in more need of a higher draft pick. But I'm not really sure, if that's up for the treasurer, Leo, the secretary, AB, and the commission to determine that.
Yeah, I haven't really made my opinion public, I guess. I agree with a lot of what you said. I'm definitely not in favor of any financial punishment. I can maybe get behind a for fun punishment, but ultimately I don't mind tanking. If the owner wants to lose, they can lose. If they want to win, they can win.
Mm-hmm. Like Leo says in the chat here, you pay to tank, pay to suck, pay to be unlucky, but every owner here gives up $100 at the start of the season. If you're tanking, right? Nobody's doing it to tank and be the worst team year by year by year by year. There's a strategy in there to move up and get a better preferred player. So I see it both ways. So it's never been an issue, I guess, for the entire league. But again, this is a QB reliant league. If this wasn't a generational QB, who's the potential number 1 overall pick, then it's a different story. But in my opinion, this is just the best way for me to reset my team and reset my clock. The trades I've made this year, I think I've come out on top in a lot of my trades. I think I've made 3 of them, 4 of them. I think I won both of our trades. We
don't need to talk about that.
David Johnson, I won that trade. I think Sony Michel, I won that trade as well. But in terms of Fitzpatrick and a draft pick for Robert Woods, I think that's a fair trade for both parties involved. Like, it helped out both teams. Cooper Kupp for a first and a third. I think that helps out both parties as well. So I think I'm doing like the best I can to reposition myself for the future here. But it's a drafting league. You get good through drafting and trades. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't blame you for what you're doing at all. Because Trevor Lawrence would be a big deal. Like, why not try to get the best player? Like, what good is it for you at this point to try to beat Leo or Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, imagine what would my team do if I picked 5th or 6th? Like, at that point, Lawrence is gone, Kyle Fields is gone, or Justin Fields is gone, and then also Trey Lance is gone. Like, the top 3 QBs are gone. Like, what's that going to do for me? Like, then I had to grab a QB who's either a hit or miss, and I take a shot on him. If I miss on that, then my team's 1-2 years stuck. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios that can come into play.
Yeah, because so here's would be like maybe the technical correct answer why you should beat one of the playoff teams, one of the upper teams, is to quote unquote keep the integrity of the league. Other members are trying to battle for their spots, so you should give your best effort just for the sake of everyone else. But that's as a word that I know Ryan and Shinru really enjoy is that seems a little selfless. That there's nothing in it for you. There's really nothing in it for you to try to beat those teams unless you want to. I mean, it's your choice. You do whatever you want. But it seems to make more sense to try to lose. There's no benefit to you winning that. It's like you said, what good does it do for your team to get the 5th or 6th pick? You want Trevor Lawrence. That's what's going to help your team.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody in the league, voice their opinion on me needing a QB. I get over and over and over and over and over again. So, like, for me, I positioned my team. I traded away quality assets for first-round picks. I have 2 this year. I have 2 next year. I could get 1 more this year. I can get 2 more this year. I can get 1 more next year. I mean, if I bring in 4 or 5 first rounders within the 2021 draft and the 2022 draft, I mean, I'm back on the radar in my opinion, especially if these are players that I land a hit on, and so that's just my opinion on it. And I don't know. I mean, tanking is just a weird scenario. It's I don't know. This is my first dynasty I've been in, but again, this is for my window is not right now. This is the window for Paul. This is the window for you, Scott, if you're in the playoffs. This is the window for Johnny. This is the window for Ryan. Like, we've criticized Chris, with how his team's built and how his schedule has been lucky. So clearly it's, people think it's not his time either. You would need a lot going for you in the expansion draft. I'm sure Chris would agree too. If we drafted the expansion draft all over again, I'd be doing a lot of things differently nowadays.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So,
and that's fair. I know. This is a preview to something over winter break when the season ends. There might be a redraft of like a for fun expansion redraft. Not by you or Chris, but by other members of the league. See what they would have done, and maybe highlight some poor decisions that were made.
Yeah, it's easy to circle back now and look at, okay, Cooper Kupp's not a wide receiver 1 right now. Kelsey first overall. I mean, Melvin Gordon shouldn't have gone as high as he would. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. I don't know where we were at in COVID either. Tom Brady was, I don't even remember if the NFL were where they were at in the free agency point of that spot either, but there was a lot of different moves that were made. David Johnson, I think when I snagged him, he was still on Houston. He wasn't, or not Houston. Was he in Arizona? There was just a lot of moving parts to it. So it's really, really tough. I think this was probably one of the biggest off-season moves that the NFL has had in a lot of different years. So many just key players just moving and changing teams.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. And it'll probably happen again this next offseason. It's probably going to be difficult for NFL scouts to draft those college players not playing their full schedule, maybe missing out on a lot of games. It'll be a weird year.
Yeah, going to the chat a little bit here. I haven't really addressed them much.
Let me pull
Austin, bad teams overperforming against me, killing me this season. Paul saying, I think Scott, is this Paul Deceptive Magic 7? Or is that
Deceptive Magic is Brendan.
Okay. Him saying, his team's already out. He doesn't address really anything. Top four picks are going to be QB. And yeah, that's, we addressed this, right? If I'm picking 5 or 6, that just destroys my window for another year. I can't give up 2 or 3 first rounders for a QB. It just doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah. So just to clarify, what Leo is saying is kind of in line with what we're saying, right? If you want to,
on board for a financial hit, and I'm fine with that too. I would be, I think that's a interesting topic to where you have you pay per loss. I would pay, to reset my team. That's kind of how I would look at it. It wouldn't de-incentivize me from tanking if it's a good position there. If this wasn't a QB deep class, then there's probably a very low chance I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm benching a good amount of my team against Shinwoo. But again, it goes back to the scenario where I wasn't going into the matchup looking to bench my, and play all these, QB or wide receiver 3s, wide receiver 4s, QB 3s, QB 4s, etc. I looked at the matchup the day of, saw it. I dropped Tyreek Cohen in the process of doing it, which kind of hurts me long term, depending what the Bears view him as. If David Montgomery is not there in the future, Tyreek Cohen's that's their passing back. So I lost a key player doing that. So that kind of hurt my team by doing it. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough scenario. But again, this is a dynasty league that, my goal is to be competitive. My goal is to be up there and compete every single year and recycle players and draft picks to keep myself up there. Leo said there's, you're in a window, your team will cycle to be bad and good. I'm in the cycle window of being bad to get good again. You're just a few picks away from doing that.
Which you should have the right to do and not be punished for it. You do whatever you want. Kevin, if you want to be bad for the next 50 years, feel free. What I don't care. I don't know.
Yeah, we just got a comment. $100 up front is basically a guarantee that you're not getting any of that back. Is enough punishment. I agree. $100 is a decent penny to pay. But again, I think we've hit this this dead horse. My plan is to reset my clock. I think I've won trades. I think I have a couple good pieces. Again, if I can have 2 or 3 good hits in my next my first 4 picks that I have, I'll be picking first overall, second overall, third overall, or fourth overall, depending if I win this week, next week. That sets up my second round matchup or my second round draft pick as well to be a higher pick. So I have 4 of the first 24 picks in this draft here. If I land 2 of them where they're starters next year and they're performing, I'm back on the map a little bit. And then you look at other teams here as well. You look at Ryan's team, for example. he's going to be in a cap spot as well. I mean, he's currently over the cap with -6. He's got, Watson, McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Michael Thomas, Noah Fant, Allen, Chark, 7 players at least going up in cap. Mayfield, Goff, Daniel Jones, Curtis Samuel, Sammy Watkins. I mean, he's got Odell. He's got a lot of different moving parts as well. So if I'm clearing cap a little bit, I'm building through the draft, I might be able to add some players through free agency, which is what I didn't do this past free agency. I completely didn't know what was going on. That the goal of free agency is to draft or drop players who you kind of want to get back to try to get their cap $4 or $5 less. If I was able to have, I was very, very high on who's the running back for Jacksonville?
Robinson.
Yeah, I was very high on him. I knew that he was going to be a hit. Not many other people did. They bid on other players instead, but I didn't have the cap to make a bid for him. If I had won that guy and I would have, a few other hits, like I'm in a good spot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Your team is easy to cheer for, Kevin, so I'm cheering for you. I don't think we have a lot of beef, despite the trades not being in my favor with you. I know in the future they will be. I have nothing bad to say about your team. I am curious if you're giving any friendly discounts over at State Farm right now. If it's in your name, you are the discount Belichick. So I expect when I go over to you and you're my agent to have some very friendly discounts in being a fellow league member. Is there a Dynasty Football League discount at State Farm?
Yeah, there's definitely some Dynasty merch that can be given. I don't think I should really be talking about discounts when I'm being recorded. No, I'm just messing with you. No, we'll give you a good deal. So, no, all will be good. I don't know if Jim's going to like that, though. You changing agents, though. That might get me in trouble.
Jim
Falkowski's not going to like that.
Yeah.
We got a comment that just came up. Ryan isn't really going to have a cap problem, if I'm being honest. I don't know. I think Ryan's in a tough cap spot. I mean, depending what he does with Odell and some of his other key players. I mean, if he wants to hold on to Odell where he can't get good value from it, then he's in a tough spot. But he drops a few of his other players. I don't know.
I actually do agree. I know we talked about this. It's really just Keenan and Odell. He doesn't need Keenan or Odell. If he traded Keenan and Odell, dropped him even, it really doesn't matter. He's fine. He'll be fine.
I think if we're talking about changes, I think since we're talking about cap, I don't know if it's ever been explored, but I think one way to get more parity in the league is to maybe lower the cap a little bit. The cap hit is now, is it 225 or 250?
225.
225. I mean, if it was lower to 200, that creates more parity of maybe more trades, more add and drops in the off season to reset the clock a little bit. There's, that's always an option too. But I don't know. Yeah. Everybody in the league knows it more than I do. But if Ryan's not in a cap position held, that's impressive given his team of studs. But one way to create more parity is, to have a different cap.
Yeah, I would potentially be in favor of that 1 or 2 years from now, but I think it's worth seeing how the next couple off seasons go. Because you look at it like my team, for example, like what you would want if I don't make any decisions, if I make 0 trades, there's going to be a lot of quality players that I have to drop in the league and go after. Let players go over 50. That's an interesting thought as well. Yeah, I could let players go over 50.
I would be okay with that too. Maybe the cap max of players is 60 or 70, 65, 70. I know they can go over 50 if it's a bid, but I don't know. new comment. Ryan doesn't want to go lower; he wants to go higher. Yeah,
I'd like to.
The lower cap punishes teams for having good players, right? And that's I don't know. I think it's fine the way it is with 225, but if there wanted to be more parity, more movement of players in the league, then the lower cap would simulate that. But no, I don't know.
Well, Ryan never says anything productive. He hasn't said anything productive in this chat yet, because if you notice, he's always in favor of things that favor his team. He very rarely would ever say anything that would harm his team in the short or long term. And back to his first comment, he says, "Is Rye Bread the only organization with franchise pride?" No. We have a lot of pride here at the Dynasty Champions, Ryan, and I'm sure every owner takes pride in their team. So no. Next question, if you have another question, Ryan. Gee whiz. I'll only speak for myself, but I think a lot of the owners have some pride. I think it seems like a lot of
the Heisenberg, you mean?
Heisenberg. You know what? I lose a lot of respect for owners in the league that have changed their name in the past. I have a lot more respect for those members who have stuck with their team name from year one. Your name just kind of reflects who you are. So if you're constantly wanting to change, it seems like you're very unsure of yourself and your team. You're not sure of the direction. For me, I'm very, very clear about the direction my team is going, and it's headed. Ryan's fans channel number 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think the cap's in a fine spot. I mean, but that's, again, if we wanted more movement, then there would be different ways you can go about the cap itself. But obviously the cap right now and a higher cap would allow players to hold on to players longer, but a lower cap would then stimulate more movement of players in the league, ads, drops, trades, etc. But no, I think with really, I think you look at running backs. Running backs, and I could be completely wrong about this. I'm fairly new to the NFL and looking at a lot of running backs, but in fantasy, but. I feel like running backs have a pretty small shelf life in the NFL. Like you look at some of these players are in and out so quickly of their career. I know the NFL, you joke it's not for long, but some wide receivers too. But they're good 1 year. Like a Doug Martin, and then 2 years later he's useless, and then or a Doug Baldwin, or there's so many just ins and outs where just. That's all rebuilt through the draft. So I think with that being the way it is in the NFL, that really creates the cap flexibility where it doesn't really need to go much lower.
Yeah, you bring up a good point on running backs. It's definitely a problem in the NFL and why teams don't want to pay running backs. Like Green Bay will have to face it with Aaron Jones. Is Aaron Jones replaceable? I would say probably, yeah. So why not just draft someone who could be just as productive?
Yeah, you look at the top QB or the top running backs right now. Melvin Gordon could be out of the league here in a year or two.
Yeah.
David Johnson could be out of the league next year. You have no idea. Le'Veon Bell, there's just so much turnover. Sony Michel could be out of the league. You have no idea. There's just. It's really, really weird. Jordan Howard was a beast 3 years ago, and he's pretty done. It's just so weird, seeing these top running backs that were, top 10 running backs for a while. Now they're done. Their time's over with. It's just really, really weird.
Let me give you one that is very debatable, but very possible. Maybe it's trending in that direction is Ezekiel Elliott. There's a lot of arguments for maybe defenses paying extra attention to Elliott to shut him down. But I don't know. There could be something there. Maybe his time is up. Maybe he's never good again. It's definitely got a fumble issue.
The offense itself, and Dax has a lot more wide receiver targets. That offense was great this year, but Now they don't have a QB. I mean, that really helped, or that really hurt Zeke's usage, right? I mean, if you don't have a good QB, that makes it's a lot more predictable.
So. For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you'd get dropped, like Austin just said, within 2 years. I mean, what are we doing? I don't think that's going to happen. But is it possible? Yeah, absolutely. But if Le'Veon's pretty much out of the league, Melvin Gordon's out, David Johnson, there's anything can happen. I mean, Kamara could be out in 2 years, 3 years. I mean, we have no idea. If these running back classes just keep coming in, like this was a pretty deep running back class, I feel like, in 2020. I could be wrong about that too, but I just feel like the amount of hits that we had in that league, that was a pretty deep running back class.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, anything else you want to talk about?
Dang, Mr. Discount Belichick. I think that's all I had. Definitely a good idea to clear the air, and I think it was good of you to fire back at Brendan and Shinwoo.
Yeah, just to summarize, right? Tanking. I could go either way with it. I would, if it's there. I think tanking, just we got to determine maybe a different type of draft system. I don't think a 1, 2, or 3 seed should ever be in the lottery running for a top 5 pick unless they got that pick through the draft or through trading. I mean, again, maybe it's based off total points of an entire roster, not the starting lineup, but that just makes things just so inflated as well. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But also, again, like I said, if Lawrence wasn't there, or if Shinwoo was 0-10 or 0-11 at the time of our matchup, like my full lineup's going out there. Like my full lineup's going out there right now against Johnny. Like my goal right now is to beat Johnny this week. Like I would love to take him out, given how high he was and how good of a team he's got too. So. But
nice.
Yeah, man, the hot seats. It's I think Brennan's in the hot seat right now. A few things came to light about himself and his starting lineup. So I appreciate you coming on here to voice your opinion on it a little bit. But we'll see if you make some matchup acquisition differences this week and sets a different lineup right now. Because as of right now, his projected score is 67. So, like I said, he's trying to leapfrog Shinwoo in those standings to get that second overall pick. So he's called out, So we'll see what he has to say on the next Heroes Hot Seat. Maybe he'll just be himself, and he'll be getting hot and taking off the shades and everything. So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if he sticks with Alex as a guest, maybe they're both going to be heated individuals because it just sinks in that Alex isn't going to make the playoffs. So that'd be how tragic. I'd feel so bad if Alex didn't make the playoffs. I'd cry. I'd cry with him. It'd be so devastating.
So this week we've got Alex against Chris. Right now, Chris is projected to win that matchup, and he got 36 points from Gibson, which is huge for him. And you're playing Mr. Yunt. Ooh, that's a close matchup. Shoot. You're projected to win by 6. By 6.
You know what, Patrick, if you're listening out there.
Will Fuller went off for you. Oh, you have James Conner out with COVID too.
Yeah.
You think you'll be playing Cole Beasley given what he did last week?
No, I'm probably going to slide in Crowder first, but Beasley would likely be the guy for Deontay Johnson if I choose to sit Deontay. But we'll see. I'm still thinking about that one.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. And then you play week 13. So you play Chris, don't you? You do.
Yeah.
And then Alex plays Mike Vick in a box, which, hey, Alex might win that matchup. So if you win this week and Alex loses, do you have the tiebreaker over Alex?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, I feel good. Okay. So
I gotta beat Patrick though. Patrick, if you're listening, maybe you could take a page out of Kevin and Brendan and Shinwoo's playbook, and maybe you could start some bad players. If you want me to slide you $1 bill or two to make that work, maybe you can make that happen. Don't tell anybody in the league.
Having a side bet with everybody in the league.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, though, what is your plan with your team, with your cap situation? I know you're trying to, and I'm not. Here's the way. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. Never mind. What's your situation going forward with your team?
I have multiple plans. Let me try to pull something up real quick. Champs. Yep, it's saved on my computer as Champs 2020 roster.
Do you view Kenyon Drake as your future? Are you trying to move him?
No, yeah, it's definitely movable. So I have we'll just call it plan A, but it's not really plan A. So I'm going to name these players, okay? So I got Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Drew Lock, Dalvin Cook, James Conner, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, Deontay Johnson, and then Paris Campbell. So those people I can keep. All right,
Paris Campbell one of the picks you regret drafting the most?
No. I like Paris Campbell a lot. And
of course you're gonna admit that you don't like him. His injury history is just killing you.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of Paris Campbell. And I know I've offered him to you. I've offered him to Brendan. I've offered him to Shinwoo. And which is totally fine that you guys don't want him because I like him a lot. And I think he'll be really good. But anyway, those players I just mentioned, I can keep them all. All right. And that's good enough to have a really high-powered starting lineup. And in turn, I wouldn't really have a bench. Okay. Which is fine. So that's
you'd be like Johnny in a sense.
I'd be like Johnny, very similar to Johnny. Now, that leaves people like Kenyon, Crowder, David Johnson, Cole Beasley, Hunter Renfrow, Sony Michel, Edelman, if you want to count Edelman, Boykin, if you want to count Boykin. But that's a lot of people that I can't keep. And those are good players. Those are very competent players that maybe people want, maybe people don't. If I try offering Kenyon Drake to somebody and they're like, no, I don't want him. Well, the truth is they probably do, and they're just going to be buttholes about it. Same with David Johnson and
what's
and
your
Crowder.
plan with Julian Edelman?
Yeah, no, I mean I'll trade him for a 4th round pick.
A 4th round?
Yeah, I'll trade Edelman for a 4th round pick.
Oh, so you're okay. Your ask went down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't.
3 weeks ago it was a 3rd. Okay, I might have to consider that, but yeah, he might be retired in the year. You have no idea.
He could be. Yeah, I'm gonna wait to make any trades till after the season because maybe Edelman can still help me this season. But
I don't know about that.
He could come back. The last update I saw,
he's not going to be in your starting lineup.
Oh, he could. Look, I do not discriminate on my starting lineup. If there's one thing that
I guess, if you have injuries and COVIDs, then yeah.
Look, I'm not afraid to sit anybody. Like I've sat Rodgers this year. I've sat Ryan this year. I haven't sat Dalvin Cook yet, but I'm not afraid to do it. Like I'm really not. If I don't like Dalvin Cook's matchup, then I'm not going to play Dalvin Cook. It's as simple as that. And I get criticized for that a lot, but I do not.
You don't really have the depth to go over that. Then, well, you would never sit Dalvin Cook.
Oh yes, I could. Maybe not. But I wouldn't put it.
Dalvin Cook, the number 1 running back right now in fantasy. He's playing against the. I mean, who's the number 1 defense? Like maybe
we'll say Pittsburgh or
the Ravens or the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You're not sitting him over them.
Oh, I might do. If Minnesota played Pittsburgh, I would very strongly consider sitting Cook. I really would.
Who are you going to play over him, though? James Conner?
Yeah, if Conner and Drake had favorable matchups and Cook didn't, I have no problem starting Conner and Drake over Cook. I would trust Conner and Drake. Now, if it was like Sony Michel starting for Dalvin Cook, then no, I'm going to start Dalvin Cook. But if I have the depth on my team. Look, I know that the rest of the league is tired of me saying this, but I think right now my current roster, I think I'm the best team in the league. I truly think that. I'm very biased, but I think I should win the championship this year. I have a very good starting lineup, and I just listed like 8 people that when everybody's healthy are on my bench that could start for basically any other team. Okay, like there are at least 8 other teams in the league that would be starting Crowder. At least 8 other teams in the league that would be starting Kenyon. If David Johnson was healthy, he'd be starting. Cole Beasley's a starter. And then Renfro's a little more questionable. I like Renfro, not for this season, but for the future. And then who the heck knows with the other guys? But those guys are not. I generally don't start because I can't.
So what's your plan? Have you thought about what your scenario is going to be if you miss the playoffs this year?
Yeah, well, it actually doesn't change too much. Like what my offseason looked like.
Just try to offload some guys who don't fit the starting lineup in the best lineup. Maybe reacquire some picks.
Sure. Well, it would help if I won the championship. Like that would make things easier because then I'd be happy to trade Dalvin Cook. I'd be happy to trade Cooper, Lockett, maybe for even a discounted price because I'm so happy that I won the championship. But these expensive guys like Rodgers or Ryan, that's almost kind of the plan A. If someone wants Matt Ryan, which anybody in the league could use, maybe except for 2 teams, so if I traded Matt Ryan, then that would allow me to keep someone like Kenyon and someone like Crowder, Renfro. So that's just kind of the trade-off. So I have multiple directions.
This has been brought up in the past, but would you consider trading Matt Ryan and then, benching Drew Lock in your Superflex because you wouldn't view Drew Lock as the best starter that week?
Yeah.
Or would Drew Lock be a start no matter what if you have – because at that point you'd only have 2 QBs. Yeah. Given Rodgers' resurgence, right, you have his backup. And it looks like Jordan Love is not going to be starting for 2 years, 3 years, maybe even more, since given how Rodgers rebounded from his injuries here.
Sure. No, that's the ultimate predicament I'm in. That's the number one thing I have to think about when trading someone like Matt Ryan is I don't want to have 2 quarterbacks. So the most ideal thing that could happen is if I trade Matt Ryan, I get a quarterback in return. How likely is that? I don't know how likely that is because I'd want a cheap quarterback. There's not.
What would your trade offer be for me? Let's just say I had Joe Burrow and he wasn't injured right now. What would your trade offer be this offseason if you won the championship?
For me to try to get Burrow?
Yeah, what would your offer be?
Okay, yeah, this is definitely a hypothetical because I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
At that point, you're giving up Matt Ryan or Rodgers, right?
Yeah, we'll stick with Matt Ryan for now.
Yep. But Matt Ryan might be retired in 3 years.
Maybe I'd start with like Matt Ryan, Amari Cooper, and a first-round pick, and just negotiate from there.
Okay.
But that's probably too low, honestly. That's probably a terrible offer to try to get Joe Burrow.
Where would you value Burrow now that he's out for the year and possibly a decent amount of next year, given his just destroyed knee?
Yeah, I wouldn't. That doesn't deflate his price too much, in my opinion. I think someone like that is, at least 3 first-round picks, at least, but probably more, realistically. If Austin was offered 3 first-round picks for Burrow, I don't think I would take that. Like if I had Burrow, maybe a couple more firsts or maybe 3 first-round picks and a a very high caliber player. So yeah, like those, it's super valuable to have young quarterbacks.
It's definitely that's one of Austin's bright spots is having Burrow and the impact he's had. So
I like Burrow, but I like Kyler Murray better. I think Kyler Murray. If I had to start my team around anybody, probably pick Mahomes first, but I think Kyler would be number 2. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'd go probably Mahomes, maybe Russell Wilson, and then Kyler's up there for sure. So, well, we've gone about an hour and a half, man. Any last things you got before I end us here?
Yeah, let's we'll end it here. I gotta get going. But Kevin, this was awesome. Yeah, definitely a great idea on doing this podcast.
Absolutely. So we'll see what the response is. Like I said, we'll see if Brendan, listened to what we've had when we called him out a little bit here. We'll see what the response is. But good luck down the road, my friend. Stay out of trade dilemma here. Good trades here in the next few weeks if you're out of the playoffs. But if you're in, good luck to you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sweet. Thank you, Kevin. I'll see you.
All right. See you, man.